fourth time I pet sat for Mrs. Chen was the only time I was ever asked to stay overnight, and it's also the last time I ever pet sat for anyone at all. I was 18, freshly graduated from high school that spring. Mrs. Chen lived alone in the house next to my parents, and I had watched her cat, Milo, 3 times before while she visited her daughter for the weekend. Milo was a fat orange tabby who mostly slept, ate, and ignored everything around him. The first 3 times were easy. I'd stop by twice a day, feed him, scoop the litter box, water her plants, and leave. Each visit took maybe 20 minutes. The 4th time was different because Mrs. Chen asked if I could actually stay at her house overnight. She said she'd be gone for 4 days visiting family out of state and didn't like the idea of the house sitting empty for that long. She offered me double what she usually paid, and honestly, it sounded like easy money. My parents thought it was a good idea too, since I'd be right next door if anything happened. When I got to her house that Thursday evening, she walked me through everything again. Milo's food was in the pantry, scoop the litter box twice a day, don't let him outside no matter how much he meowed at the door. She mentioned the thermostat could be temperamental, and if it got cold, I could just bump it up. She also told me there was a spare key under a ceramic frog by the back door in case I locked myself out. Before she left, she casually mentioned her neighbor across the street, a guy named Dale, who sometimes helped her with things around the house. If I needed anything or had any problems, she said I could knock on his door. I nodded along, not really thinking much about it. She gave me a hug, told me to make myself at home, and left. The house was old but clean. It had that familiar smell old houses have, like lavender and dust. The living room was filled with floral furniture and framed family photos covering almost every surface. I found Milo asleep on the couch, gave him a quick pet, and carried my overnight bag upstairs. Mrs. Chen said I could sleep in the guest room at the top of the stairs. It was small with a quilted bedspread and lace curtains. That first night was completely normal. I watched TV, scrolled on my phone, fed Milo again before bed, and went upstairs around 11. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator humming and the occasional creak from the floorboards. I fell asleep without any trouble. The next morning was when things started to feel off. I woke up around 9 and went downstairs to feed Milo. When I walked into the kitchen, I stopped. His food bowl was already full. I stood there staring at it, trying to remember if I had somehow fed him earlier and forgotten. I knew I hadn't. I had just woken up. Then I noticed a note sitting on the counter. It was written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Fed Milo for you this morning. Didn't want to wake you. Dale. I read it twice. Dale, the neighbor across the street. My chest tightened as I checked the front door. Locked. I checked the back door. Also locked. I went outside and looked under the ceramic frog. The spare key was still there. He must have used it and put it back. I told myself this was probably normal. Mrs. Chen had said he helped her sometimes. Maybe she told him I'd be staying there and asked him to check in. Still, it bothered me that she hadn't mentioned it. The rest of the day passed quietly. I fed Milo, watched TV, and tried to shake the uncomfortable feeling. That night, around 10, I went upstairs to brush my teeth. While I was in the bathroom, I heard a door close downstairs. I froze and listened. Someone was walking around in the kitchen, opening cabinets. Hello, I called down. The sound stopped. Then a man's voice answered, cheerful and casual. Oh, hey, sorry, didn't mean to scare you. It's Dale from across the street. I stood at the top of the stairs. What are you doing here? Just checking on things. Mrs. Chen asked me to stop by while she was gone. She asked me to stay here. I'm taking care of everything. There was a brief pause before he stepped into view at the bottom of the stairs. He was in his 50s, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, smiling in a way that didn't quite reach his eyes. I know, he said. Just wanted to make sure you didn't need anything. I don't, I said. I'm fine. He nodded and headed for the front door. I waited until I heard it lock before I ran down and checked it myself. Locked. The back door, too. He had used the spare key again. I almost called Mrs. Chen right then, but I hesitated. What would I even say? Her neighbor was helping? That was what she told me he did. Still, I didn't like it. I went outside, took the spare key from under the frog, and put it in my bag upstairs. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I went downstairs and stopped cold. There was breakfast on the tail. Toast, scrambled eggs, and coffee, still warm. Another note. Thought you might be hungry. Used the back door so I wouldn't bother you. Dale. My hands started shaking. I checked the back door, locked. Then I noticed one of the kitchen windows cracked open, just an inch or two. Just enough for someone to reach in and unlock it from the inside. I slammed it shut and locked it. When my mom called to check on me, I told her everything. She told me it was strange and that I should call Mrs. Chen. I tried. No answer. I texted her. Nothing. That evening, Dale knocked on the front door holding a casserole dish. I didn't open it. He asked me to let him in. I told him I was fine. His voice changed. He said Mrs. Chen wouldn't want me being rude to him. After he left, I shoved a dresser in front of the bedroom door. Around midnight, I heard someone trying the locks. Then moving from window to window. I called 911. When the police arrived, Dale told them Mrs. Chen had asked him to check on me. He smiled the entire time. The next morning, Mrs. Chen finally called back. She sounded confused and upset. She said she never asked Dale to do anything and barely knew him. Later, the police told us he had prior stalking charges. Mrs. Chen changed all her locks. Dale moved out a few months later. I don't pet sit anymore because the scariest situations aren't obvious break-ins,